Once upon a time, the unbelievable generational type talent we know today took a major risk at a young age to accomplish a dream which required him to be hundreds of miles away from some of the closest people in his life, but also really held his own against older competition while putting in crazy hours in the gym on a daily basis and just waited his turn. This is the Luka Doncic story. Luka Doncic was born on February 28, 1999 in Ljubljana, Slovenia, to mother Mirjam Peterman and father Sasha Doncic. Now, Luka's first encounter with the basketball was as early as when he was only 7 months old. His dad was a basketball coach and a former professional player. And with him being a professional athlete, he was super ecstatic and knew earlier on that his son was different, which led Luka, by only the age of 1 year old, to have his own basketball setup in his room. But basketball wasn't always the front runner for Luka. That's because growing up, he also had a strong desire to play football. But as he got older, he decided to call it quits for football because he was growing very rapidly and thought that he was too tall to play the sport, which resulted in him quitting the sport to gravitate and really focus on basketball. He began to play organized basketball at the age of 7 at his elementary school in Ljubljana. According to the director of the youth program of Luka's club in Slovenia, he was always happy and full of energy and smiles. Every single day after practice ended, he even made the special efforts to go outside and practice on the outdoor court. Doncic loved being around the game so much so to whereas he would even go with his father for his local games, where Luka would serve as the ball boy and mop the court while his dad was playing. But as Luka grew more and more towards the game of basketball, things would start falling apart in the family. Friction would begin to develop between Luka and his father, which appeared to come from the divorce between his mother and father when Luka was just 8 years old. Not only did Sasha and Mirjam have differences for each other, she practically raised Luka by herself, because while Sasha was a pro basketball player, he would be gone for long periods of time. And even throughout all of Luka's milestones that he accomplished later on in life, his father was absent while his mother was present, as she was always there every step of the way. Now, Luka and his dad never really got along. As far as the coach-son duo, it has even been stated by Luka that they tried it for a little bit, but it just didn't go well. After the divorce, Mirjam was granted legal guardianship over Luka, which resulted in him and his dad's relationship to worsen, even though he played a part in Luka developing his skill set and competitive mindset. Doncic still found a way to push himself and spend countless hours in the gym. He became one of the best elite youth players in Europe, but what really matured and elevated his game to the next levels was the fact that he was playing against older and more experienced competition. Since he couldn't beat the other guys with his speed and athleticism, the only thing that could really give him the edge was to develop his on-court IQ. Over time, he would do just that, being able to beat his opponents with his brain. When Doncic was 13, the scouts from the Real Madrid basketball club noticed Doncic and saw something in him when he was in his hometown, and shortly after, they offered him a 5-year contract, inviting him to relocate in Madrid to live alongside other football and basketball prospects. But even with all the immaculate potential that he showed, moving to Spain was quite a struggle for him, and he missed being home in Slovenia. Everything was there, from his friends, school, and family. And on top of all that, it was just way much easier to communicate and make new friends back home. Not only was it hard for him though, it was quite tough on his mother, as she was 1,200 miles away from her son. She described her first 2 years away from him as crazy hard, and she even cried every single time. When returning home from Spain back to Slovenia, Doncic became so unstoppable that on April 30th, 2015, he made his professional debut for the Real Madrid squad in the Liga ABC. He became the youngest player ever to appear in a Liga ABC game for Real Madrid, as well as the 3rd youngest debutant in league history at 16 years, 2 months, and 2 days of age. And by now, he wasn't just playing with players that were 2 and 3 years older than him. He was now in a locker room filled up with grown men, but it really challenged him, which made him the youngest EuroLeague MVP. But it wasn't until the 2017-18 season where he really started making a name for himself internationally. He was able to finish that season averaging 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists per contest, but was also doing this in just 23 minutes. But he just kept going as he led Madrid to the 2018 EuroLeague title, winning the EuroLeague MVP and the Final Four MVP, as well as the ACB Most Valuable Player. His NBA draft stock kept soaring to the top, and he was projected to go #1 on a lot of different mock drafts. But of course, there were still people that were doubtful about his slow pace and lack of athleticism, along with him being very young. But his raw talent was just too obvious, which led him to enter the 2018 NBA draft, where he would be selected 3rd overall by the Atlanta Hawks, but was traded to the Dallas Mavericks in exchange for Trae Young. In his rookie season, he averaged 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists across 72 appearances. Among all the rookies, he ranked 3rd in player efficiency rating and 2nd in estimated wins added. The way he jumped on the scene and how he made such an immediate impact even caught him off guard. He was selected to the NBA All-Rookie First Team and won Rookie of the Year. In the 2019-20 season, he started to really separate himself even more from the majority of players in his draft class, as he was able to average 29 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists in 61 games. He earned his first All-Star appearance as a starter, becoming the first European player to ever start in an All-Star game. He helped lead his team all the way into the 7th seed, in which they faced the Clippers in the first round. So in game 1, he scored 42 points but in a loss, which was the most points scored ever by a player in the first playoff game. And in game 4 of that series, Doncic hit one of the craziest step back, which was the 2nd longest game winner in playoff history. And although they lost that series, he was on a complete tear. Now his team did start the very next season pretty slow, having a 9-14 record through the first 23 games, but he put the team on his back during the second half of the season and was easily already a top 5 player, along with being in the MVP discussion. But as they entered the 2021 playoffs, they opened up the series against the Clippers with a 2-0 lead. Defensively, they had no answers for him, as he was able to put up 42 points twice in the series. Now they did go 7 games, but winded up losing to the Clippers for the 2nd year in a row. But he played his part, going out with a bang with 46 points, 7 rebounds, and 14 assists. For that season, he averaged 28 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists. He came into his 4th season as the betting favorite to win Most Valuable Player for the 2nd consecutive season. He averaged 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists, while shooting 46% from the field and 35% from 3. And on February 10th, 2022, Doncic scored his career high at the time, 51 points versus the Clippers in a win. He was simply unstoppable. He was 17 of 26 from the floor and 7 of 14 from 3, and chipped in 9 rebounds and 6 assists. Luka also became the 7th player in NBA history to earn 3 All-Star nods before his 23rd birthday. His presence even allowed his team to maintain a 52-30 regular season record. Doncic willed his way through the first and second rounds of the playoffs, proving a lot of people wrong, as they went as far as the Western Conference Finals, which was the first Western Conference Finals appearance since the 2010-2011 season. Now, even though they did go on to lose to the Golden State Warriors, it was safe to say that it was a very successful season for the Mavericks. Now, heading into the 2022-23 season, he's really been solidifying himself as the best player in the entire NBA, as he's been able to withhold averages of 34 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists per contest. And on December 23rd, Doncic recorded 50 points, 10 assists, and 8 rebounds versus the Houston Rockets, but he wasn't finished, because on the very next week, Luka displayed one of the best individual performances in NBA history, putting up 60 points, 21 rebounds, and 10 assists versus the New York Knicks. His team was down 9 points with 30 seconds to go, and somehow he made a way to get the W. Luka Doncic overcame countless hurdles throughout his journey to the big leagues, from being doubted and told that he would be exposed coming into the NBA for his lack of athleticism and slow pace to the game. But he just kept that crazy killer mentality inside of him, but also had a natural born ability to read the floor and impact the game in such a big way.
Like I always say, you gotta work on everything. You're never gonna be until you're the best at something. You gotta always work on it, and I'll just work on everything.
And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Luka Doncic story.